Alright, welcome back guys, Zygamroth here again, back to back, 2 hero guides in 2 days. Today I have Kinley, Rose of the Battlefield, just released. I've been lucky enough to level her all the way up to Mythic, to do some testing with her, just for you guys, and I think I've got something here for you all. So just quickly I'll go over her base stats and abilities again, and any sort of corrections I wanted to make on my impressions video and what I was sort of guessing. So here we go. So base stats quickly: 2.9 million HP, 73k attack, 3,915 armor. Solid defensive stats, low attack, but her scalings more than make up for her low attack. Investing into her attack will make her do way more as well, especially because of her excellent scalings, and on top of that, she doesn't really gain much from she gains defensive bonuses from higher attack. So going over her abilities again, strikings, she consumes all of her courage points, strikes the enemy opposite to her 4 times, each strike doing 70% of her attack damage. Every 1 point of courage she possesses makes a strike 1 more time. At the end of this attack, dealing 270% of her attack damage to every enemy on the rear line. Along with her passive Go Straight Forward, the enemy opposite Kinley will always be her priority. And this goes up to 110% attack every time, and 400% to the backline at level 3. Next up is IAI Slash. So for this one we're going to need a little bit more time, especially when combined with her passive. Right, so Kinley's basic attack deals 150% of her attack damage to the frontline enemy opposite her, and 75% to the rear line enemy opposite to her. When there is no frontline enemy opposite to her, she attacks the rear line enemy opposite to her, dealing 150% of her attack, going up to 250% and 120% at level 3. Now, how this actually works in practice, I'm going to need some guides on screen to show you, because it's a little bit more confusing than it might first seem. So first up, we have Kinley with 6 enemies, and right here, she hits the first one in the front line for 250% damage, and the one in the rear line for 120%. As you can see, I've marked with a green arrow where she's hitting. Second scenario, right? So first enemy's dead. She's now hitting only the rear enemy for 250% attack damage with her basic attack. Right? And now we have the third scenario where the first column of enemies is dead. She actually will not hit any rear line enemies, and will instead hit the 2 frontline enemies in descending number order. Scenario 4. Alright, so there's 2 frontline enemies dead. She's still going to hit 2 targets, and she will hit the rear target in descending number order. So this means 4, then 5, then 6. You can see an example of this on screen now. And the 5th and final example, bringing up here, is when the rear line enemy is dead behind Kinley. She will attack 2 frontline enemies. So out of every scenario, she is at least attacking 2 heroes 4 out of 5 times. The only time she will ever only attack 1 hero is either if there's only 1 hero left, or if that 1 hero is directly in front of her and in the rear line. So what does this actually mean, right? Basically, it means that her Go Straight Forward passive only applies to the column in which that you put her, to a degree, right? So she's not always going to prioritize back row targets with IAI Slash only in the column that you put her in. So next up is her charge mechanic. Real simple, exactly the same as I explained it before. Every time someone on her team basic attacks, she gains a point. Every time she ultimates, she uses those points to do more damage. Alright. Last up, we got her magic shield. At the beginning of a round, Kinley gets a shield that blocks 100% of her attack. It's important. Damage for 1 round. When the shield exists, she possesses 30% more effect resistance, and this goes up to 50% at level 3, along with 200% of her attack. And last but not least, her unique equipment helps her to gain extra charge points. At maximum level, she can max out her charge in 1 round or 2 rounds at the most, unless you're getting stunned, but yeah, this is another story. So basically it just helps her max out her charge points and makes her way more consistent as a DPS. Alright, so next up, I do want to talk to you about talents and Stigmata. Obviously she hasn't been out for that long yet, so I can't consider this conclusive just yet, but I've done quite a bit of testing with her on a few different X4 levels with a few different sets, artifacts, everything, so I'd like to think I've gone in the right direction with her. So first up, for a Stigmata, I have got the Judgment set for the attack bonus, and I've got the Domination set, as I found it increased her damage a lot more than any of the other sets did. Part of this is due to her IAI slash hitting multiple enemies, I guess because her skills also have very high scalings naturally. You don't actually gain that much from increasing her skill damage, and the defensive set just isn't really worth it on her. Moving right along. For talents, I'm only going to be able to speculate here, but I think I've got a pretty good idea of the direction you'd want to go on Kinley. For her first talent, you probably want to go with Precise Strike or Shadow Ambush. The reasoning for this is Kinley is going to be primarily used for targeting specific heroes. Right, so you're maximizing damage to your specific target. You could go with Super Shield if you wanted to play her as a little bit tankier. It's possible. Wouldn't recommend it. Precise Strike or Shadow Ambush. Maximize that damage to the target that you are trying to take out. Second up, here we're going to go with Weakness Aimer. So, don't really want to go for Titan Killer. She's got good base HP and shields and everything. Deadly Blow, possible, honestly, but given her low base attack, I think she probably needs a bit of help cutting through armor, and this will be where you want to go for her second talent. Mythic 1 talent, this is just 100% penetrative strike. She's hitting the backline all the time for very large amounts of damage. Maximizing that is probably your best way to go. Talent number 4, Concentration, is overpowered. I mean, you could get a bit of use out of Ghost Kiss since she is hitting 2 enemies most of the time, but realistically, Concentration. I mean, actually, since she's got effect resistance built into her kit, maybe she could get way more use out of Ghost Curse than a lot of other heroes could. But I think stacking effect resistance even higher might be a little bit silly. So, test it out once you got a Mythic 3 Kinley and let me know. But no, I'd definitely go with Concentration for now. Mythic 4 talents, Shield Breaker. She's obviously trying to murder things. Shield Breaker is the DPS choice here. And last up, we're gonna go with, you guessed it, Gaze from Death. Yep, so you want Kinley to be boosting that attack as much as humanly possible because she's got such good scalings off it, and it increases both her offense and defense capabilities. Jumping back to Kinley now, I'd like to talk about artifacts for Kinley. Alright, so there's actually a fairly decent selection of artifacts that are good on Kinley. Talk a bit about them. So first up, you got Eden of Space from the gems. Or you could go with Primal Power as well, actually, but Eden Space is quite good, especially because she likes to be landing crits as well. Boosts her attack, and her basic attack is pretty important to her. So boosting that up will increase her damage by quite a lot. I've had good results through testing. Yeah. Looking at the Divine Will artifact, Arbiter of Fate is probably your artifact of choice here. If it's not available, Wings of Angel is a good secondary option. And yeah. Moving on to Prelude of Evil, just very quickly. I know most of you, this isn't applicable, but yeah, you want the Scythe of Hunt on her and boosting up that attack, boosting up that crit, and just making her deal a shitload more damage. And it's pretty straightforward. So, last up, it's pros and cons time and uses. So, what is Kinley going to be useful for? Is she good for your team? Well, she's going to be good on just about every team. Like, I definitely severely underrated her in my impressions video. I think she deals a lot more damage than I first thought she would. And we're just going to have a quick demonstration against the last stage here. All the heroes here are sort of Mythic 1, Mythic 2 at most, on my side of the battle. So anyway, Kinley's going to be absolutely god tier in PvP. The ability to target specific heroes in your enemy's lineup and put way more pressure on them. She's going to synergize really well with people like Satan as well. Just pick a target and sort of knock them out very, very quickly. And that's going to be massive. Alright. That'll probably be her primary use. Although if you're lucky enough or rich enough to have her leveled up very high already, she will probably see you through stages in X-War and everywhere else. And actually I found she's a wee bit more impressive versus bosses than I first thought, if you can build up her courage points. Still not the best option, but she's definitely better than what I thought she would be. Alright, so quickly going over her pros and cons. What are her pros? She has excellent damage with bulky base stats. She's not a tank by any means, but she can take a little bit of punishment. She can target specific heroes in your enemy's lineup, which is massive, and she hits that backline really, really hard. In fact, the only similar scaling on any ability that I've sort of found was on Van Helsing's Fatal Revenge. 400% is massive damage. So in regards to that, like, her low base attack actually makes quite a bit of sense. And to top it off, she got effect resistance built into her kit. She's going to be an incredibly consistent hero to deal damage with. So, does this amazing Kinley have any downsides? Well, yes, she has two major downsides. The first one is how to obtain her. So right now, she's only obtainable through this event, and we don't know when she will be available in stores or the casino or anything like that. And the second glaring downside is that because she's so specialized in what she's attacking, she doesn't get quite as big bonuses as, say, like Rex or someone. So she doesn't hit quite as hard, but she's hitting very specifically and hitting hard specifically, right? And the last sort of downside that I'd like to mention is sort of linked to the last one. She might need a little bit of babysitting in order to get the most out of her. I mean, it's not really a downside, it's just about building the right team. But yeah, there you go. That's basically my thoughts on her pros and cons. Alright, so I hope this helps you all, and the best of luck if you're going for Kinley, and I hope you all have a fantastic day wherever you are. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. And cheers, I'll catch you in the next one.